If you look at California as of today, we won't see anything surprising. It is still a part of the world's largest economy, but how big economy could this state become if it gained independence? Well, surprisingly, quite big. Nowadays California is home to little over 40 million people. This is still more than population of places like Poland, California, or even entire Australia. But this represents only 12% of US entire population, but also 14.6% of US GDP, with sum of $3.2 trillion. This would mean that California on its own would immediately become fifth largest economy in the world. Currently, they are tax donor state, which means they give more money to the government than they receive from the government. And this happened every year since 1995. The fact that one part of country is carrying other economically is nothing uncommon, and we can actually see this in nearly every developed country, because they tend to have those highly successful parts that are carrying the main load of entire economy. One of the best examples we could have ever seen of one of those parts of country economically carrying the rest began on October the 3rd, 1990, when very developed and successful West Germany took under their wings undeveloped Soviet east side of Germany and together managed to build the strongest economy in the Europe. But California is in quite unique position because theoretically they could become economic powerhouse at the day they split, if they would become independent. So let's look at the reasons. One of the most important part of every economic powerhouse is their strategic location. Just look at examples of Singapore in Asia or Germany in Europe. And it's fair to say that California has exactly one that would be considered very strategic. If California would become independent, it's nearly certain that their main trading partner will be US. But also China would be crucial to this development. Why? Well, as you can see on this chart that represents origin of import for the USA, 20% of country's entire import, which is valued at $2.41 trillion, came from China, and here California plays the key role thanks to its access to Pacific Ocean that connects trade routes between China and the USA. Nearly everything shipped between those countries will come from or to one of California's ports. To demonstrate how significant this port is, take a look at this chart, which shows 20 busiest ports in the entire world, and only one of them is from the US, and of course it's the one located in Los Angeles, which is part of the California. So after the split, US could lose not only giant part of its overall economy, but also very crucial connection to China and rest of the Asia. California, on the other hand, will remain those strong strategic partnership. But this is only one of the California's advantages related to their location. I don't really need to mention that it's nearly always sunny in there, but it still maintains its agriculture production, from fruit, cotton, to things like wine and wheat. Everything can be produced in California. According to University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, these states employ 829,000 farmers in agriculture. This number was measured by using social security numbers of farmers, and it's fair to estimate that with immigrants and other illegal workers, this number is significantly higher. But California is not just some state that depends solely on their agriculture capacity. To be honest, it is the exact opposite, because these states possess one of the highest human capitals in the entire USA. This means that this state produces really high-paying jobs in industries like finances, computer engineering, entertainment, or healthcare. This is also the cause of massive brain drains from smaller states into the California because of their ability to accommodate their needs and find them much better career opportunities than in states like, let's say, Wyoming. This is good news for California, but quite bad news for the rest of the US. which could technically lose a huge amount of highly skilled and intelligent people because of better job offerings in some different country like California. These people will be able to get highly paying jobs and also with it automatically pay much more on taxes, so the entire state will be happy, right? But this doesn't always bring the economic prosperity we would like to imagine. Actually, California scored terribly on Gini index that represents wealth distribution within the population. This means that the rich are having very big percentage of total wealth of citizens and poor people are basically having nothing. This bad distribution of money also affects heavily the real estate market. According to Zillow, the median price of homes currently listed in California is $533,000 and the minimum wage is only $13 per hour. This means that young people that are not working for giant corporations or are very skilled in some highly earning professions like computer engineering or healthcare industry simply cannot afford to buy houses and banks are not willing to lend them money. Certainly, having one of the highest tax rates in the entire USA doesn't help either. This is even bigger problem if we take into consideration the fact that California is the destination of many illegal immigrants who are willing to work for these minimum wages. In many cases, they will even take less money to get these mainly physically highly demanding jobs. Despite all of this, according to California Budget and Policy Center, 20.4% of population struggle to even get by. That means that 1 in 5 people are having problems just with basic necessities like paying for their food, rent, car, education or healthcare. Now this is a very, very warning sign and definitely a giant stain on California's resume as the 5th largest economy in the world, located in a very developed part of the planet. But luckily, California has something countries just cannot buy: their prestige. You can see it when the product is labeled as designed, created or manufactured in California. It will automatically come with much higher price tag. And this prestige simply cannot be bought by governments, but it's direct results of years associated with this state and their good reputation. California was able to produce many, now giant corporations like Apple, Google, Intel, Facebook, Tesla and many more. And this will remain the biggest export commodity, their service industry. And honestly, this just makes sense. If we take into consideration competitive advantage, California will be way better off by producing blockbuster movies because they have the capacity, skill and capital to do so, and countries like, let's say Venezuela, doesn't have resources or skills to produce those movies. They will be way better off by trading something for those movies, something like commodities or something that would be way more expensive to produce in California because of high labor costs, for example cheaper fruits. Just to prove how big those industries can get, Hollywood and other creative industries added $504 billion to the US GDP, and it's estimated that in total 2 million people are working in creative industry. On the top of this, California doesn't only have giant corporations based in their state, but California has a huge amount of prestige universities, more than capable to produce some of the most qualified people to work in those high-paying fields like technology, medicine, law and much more. Just to mention a few of them like Stanford, California Institute of Technology, UCLA, Berkeley and so much more. They should be able to produce highly skilled and educated workforce. It's in the interest of every country that wants to be economically successful to produce highly skilled people through their education system, and it is fair to say that in nearly every case, the better access to education means better educated workforce, and that will translate into better jobs and better overall economy of the country. One of the big punches that would come with California splitting up with the USA will be the massive shortage of drinking water. At this state, nearly every drinking water comes from Colorado River. This could actually lead to massive price spike for this commodity, and it is expected that in future water will become one of the most valuable resources for countries to have. We obviously cannot cover every significant industry that impacts overall economy, but it would be really sad if we wouldn't mention California also as a hub for tourism. Total direct travel spending in here reached $96.7 billion in 2008, and it's fair to say the travel industry employs a lot of people. Tourists are ready to spend money, and in that way really support even local businesses, everything from transportation to accommodation, food or experiences will bring money to local governments. To illustrate how big of a deal tourism can be for an economy, we must be familiar with the term multiplier effect. For tourism economy, this will basically means how much can a dollar spent circulate in economy. Imagine tourists will come into this state. Firstly, he will need some sort of accommodation, so he will go into some hotel and pay $1 for a room. Now, the pool at this hotel is suddenly broken and needs to be fixed. So the hotel will hire a pool professional with the dollar they received from the customer to fix their pool. Now, the pool worker will go to their next job, and on the way, they will go and buy some taco in their local business with the dollar they just earned. After that, the taco guy will spend their dollar for a present for their daughter, and so on and so on and so on. Now, this all is made possible just by the tourists that will spend money here. If states like California will be hit by crises like the one we are currently facing, this can create a chain reaction that can shake every job even remotely associated with tourism industry. This won't affect only small businesses, which are the backbone of every single economy, but also the government, because everyone who touches this dollar will have to pay taxes on it, from using it or having it. This can create an infinite loop, and let's face it, many citizens are nowadays very dependent on those tourists coming in and spending their money. Quite frankly, current job situation in California is not prepared for influx of workers coming from tourist industry into some new industry. If this will be long-term effect, California will take massive hit and their GDP will dramatically shrink. This isn't only their problem, but the world problem, and places like this can be affected the most. It's very interesting to think about how would the situation look today if California would handle everything what is happening on their own as an independent country, if the final result will be better or maybe worse than the current situation. If you like this video, you should definitely consider subscribing to this channel, not to miss my next video, now taking a look at the worst economy in the world. This is everything for today. Have a nice rest of your day, and I will hopefully see you when I publish my next video. Bye.